basically about 10 years ago. Me and Dave may have been involved in a series of bootleg vinyl records that come out. We had an idea. It was at the time when a lot of old disco was getting sampled for house records, and they were becoming chart records almost, like the Fats in Small and all that stuff. We kind of felt that we were going to do a house version, a disco version of the Ultimate Beats and Breaks, where the hip hop kids could find the source of the records. We thought that would be really cool, so we called them Happy Days. Well, we didn't, but whoever did it called them Happy Days. And they were very popular. People started playing the originals out, which was the whole idea behind it. These records have been going, they're still on eBay, and they're still on Discogs and all them sites.
Yeah.
And someone approached Dave and said, would you like to do a similar series legally? That was Sony, and quite a few of the records that we put on there were through Sony, weren't they?
Yeah.
Sony had owned the back catalogue of them.
Yeah, with their subsidiaries of labels and stuff that they had.
Yeah.
And it gave us a bit more of a wider kind of collection of records to sort of play with than we did before.
The actual tunes themselves on these compilations, they're records that are kind of resonant to both of you and your pre-house kind of...
lots of ways, isn't it? Really?
In lots of ways, really. I mean, basically growing up, I started going out when I was 15 in kind of, 75 or whatever, 74, to soul clubs. Nights that played soul. There was no such thing as a soul club. It wasn't really anywhere like a club. You kind of, to be honest with you, clubs weren't invented. They just had places had nights on where some guy played good music once a week. And it was usually 30 miles away, and you had to drive there. And Dave got into it a little bit later because he's younger than me, and by then the culture had kind of been established a bit more. And both me and Dave are kind of, we're the sort of people who, we buy all these books, DJ History, Last Night a DJ Saved My Life, we go along to see Mancuso play, we go and see Nicky Ciano play, and we really buy into that whole sort of New York heritage, and we just thought that we'd like to redress the balance a bit, and we'd like to kind of tell, the London story, of it all, because there was a gay scene in London, just the same as New York. Wasn't as good. In fact, it was rather rubbish compared with what was going on at the Continental Baths. But there still was a scene, and it needs telling. There was a really good dancing scene in London in the mid-70s, which I would say has probably never been surpassed to this day. That legacy inspired a lot of the house DJs, Cole Cox, Ashley Beadle,
Garnier,
loads of people like that were about, dancing at clubs like Crackers and like at the 100 Club and upstairs at Ronnie Scott's.
Yeah.
And they went on to create the house thing. So we kind of thought, we wanted to shout kind of, about London's heritage and where it stands, as opposed to New York all the time, and people hearing about New York. It's a bit. I think it's a bit of a shame that David Mancuso can put on a party in Shoreditch and 500 people would go. Yeah, George Power puts on a party and he's got 5 people there. Yeah. And no one wants to know him. I actually think that's a bit of a shame. There's a big gap, and
you have to be a real head to know who that person is.
Most people think, talk about soul, and they will say, "Oh yeah, blokes doing pyramids at Caistor," and it's like, but that's like me saying, house music is Judge Jules, blowing his trumpet at Eden. It's not. It's So we try to tell a little story through the pamphlet, through the music that we picked, and through the pictures in the pamphlet as well, which are all kind of from the era.
So did you know each other in Crackers days?
No, he was too young.
I was probably about 13, 14, and it's a bit of a weird one. I used to live in Dos Bernardos for about 2 years, and used to basically make out that I'd gone to bed, and I hadn't. I dressed the bed up with a wig and pillows.
That old chestnut.
Yeah, and they'd opened the door and felt like I was in bed, and I climbed out the window, and I used to go get the bus to Richmond and go to Brolly's and Cheeky Pete's, basically, where they were playing lots of Northern soul again, funk, and then come back at say 3-4 in the morning and try and climb up the drain pipe, and about 6 weeks later the drain pipe came away and I got caught.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We knew something was going on.
It was the curly wig, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, exactly. Hang on, he didn't have curly
wasn't the
wig.
same area as you had the next day.
What's he doing?